Welcome to another episode of Gun Review. In this episode, we have the M4A1. The M4A1 is the very first carbine given to new players, and it hails from the United States. It is the fully automatic variant of the M4 carbine, which is also based on the M16A2 rifle. Before the release of the M4A1, the original M4 had a different model and 3 fire modes: auto, burst, and semi. This M4 was then split into the M4 and M4A1, most likely to be more realistic. The M4A1 is a carbine and thus is available in all 4 classes: Assault, Scout, Support, and Recon. The M4A1 has a damage of 34 and it drops off to 19. This is pretty good for a carbine. The range of the M4A1 is from 35 studs to 120 studs. Here's another diagram that shows the shots to kill for the weapon. It has a reload time of 1.8 seconds and an empty reload time of 2.3 seconds. This is one of the fastest reload times in game, just like the other AR-15 members like the M16A4 and M16A3. Let me get one thing straight, you do not want to use the M4A1's iron sights. Firstly, they're obstructive, they just block up your whole screen, and you have the really high muzzle flash which makes it even harder to trace your targets. So I just recommend you don't use them, and better to use any optic is better than the iron sights, any optic. The iron sights are so obstructive to the point that they protrude into your optic of choice. You can literally see the front post is just there. It even blocks out all your view. It's so annoying. Speaking about optics, most optics are fine for the M4A1, but I recommend these 3 optics. If you want to use the M4A1 in a CQC situation, you should probably use the reflex sight as it has a lower magnification. You will also experience a bit less camera recoil when compared to using the Coyote sight. If you want to use the M4A1 out of CQC, you should use the Coyote sight. It has a high magnification and it's actually pretty good for all situations. Lastly, you could use the OKP7. This sight is actually pretty good for tracking targets while sustaining fire, as it has a much bigger sight, I guess. You have actually pretty good peripheral vision when using this. You can use the flash hider to hide the extremely high, obstructive and annoying muzzle flash, which is really helpful, especially if you're using a low magnification sight. And you also could use the compensator, which helps to reduce the camera recoil and most of the camera recoil. For your underbarrel, you could use the vertical grip to assist in hip fire, especially in CQC, and the angle grip is good for general improvement for recoil. And if you're more of an ADS person and you like to aim down your sights, you can use the stubby grip. That helps a lot for camera recoil compensation. You should just use a laser for your other attachment. Ammunition types are not really good for the M4A1. Its damage and range is fine as it is, so a laser or a green laser would be good for the M4A1. The M4A1 is well orientated for CQC as it has high damage and a fast rate of fire. At range, especially at longer ranges, the horizontal recoil of the M4A1 starts kicking in, making eliminating targets slightly harder. It's best to use the M4A1 in CQC and at mid-range, as it cannot handle longer ranges well at all. With its quick reload time and decent damage, the M4A1 should be mainly used for aggression, and is decent at making rushes and pushes into enemy spawns or enemy areas. As always, there are always guns which will outclass the M4A1 in this aspect, but for what it is, the M4A1 does a pretty good job. Try not to use the M4A1 in range-orientated maps like Mirage, Revolt and Dunes, as you can be very easily picked off by snipers or other weapons. And Highway, Metro, Crane, these maps are somewhat of an in-between. There are obviously CQC opportunities in these maps, but you also can get picked on by snipers. The best map for the M4A1 is Prison Break or Warehouse. These maps are very CQC, it's hard for snipers to play in, and this is where the M4A1 really excels in. In conclusion, the M4A1 is stronger in CQC and mid-range, but struggles to perform well at longer ranges, as it is still not very specialized. It is versatile, it is able to do anything a user wants it to do, but only to a satisfactory standard. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video. Maybe you like the curse images. Yeah, I do like curse images a lot. Yeah, I think this is a lot better for the channel to make it a bit less formal. But again, if you have any stuff to tell me, just leave it in the comments. Subscribe maybe.